All right, time for your never properly scheduled 3 a.m. dump of a whole load of contracts videos. I've got about 3 or 4 weeks worth of these cases built up, and I think you all are going to be just absolutely floored by how exciting these get. Some of these do actually have some quite fun case facts in them. Now, let's start where I started, the parole evidence rule. So, the parole evidence rule is a set of rules that tries to keep non-contract evidence that contradict or supplement written agreements out, right? You want to stop bad evidence because you have any idea how easy committing fraud is. It's very easy. So a contract can either be partially or fully integrated. A partially integrated contract does not have all the terms, meaning you will need outside evidence to fulfill fill the terms, right? Whereas a fully integrated, no, there's all the details, right? Now, a partially integrated contract is not inherently less detailed than a fully integrated contract. It's just that there is a discrepancy, right? For example, say we will require steel up to a certain standard. Well, that doesn't mean they can require, the greatest steel ever, unless it's clear that that's what the contract is saying. But they can require a certain grade of steel, a reasonable grade of steel, maybe. They could ultimately, if the contract looks like it's written that they could require, the top tier steel, then yes, they could. But again, it just depends on how the contract is written. And we'll get into the details of stuff like that. So the case for this one is going to be, Joyner versus Adams. So basically, there's a contract for a real estate development, and there's a disagreement about the rent for it, right? There's an escalation clause within the contract that says that the rent will increase based off development, right? Now, does that mean that the building is complete or that the site is prepared? It's a developed site, right? Developed land just means that that there's water pumped in and that it has electricity and gas. It's got all the utility lines. That is one definition of development. In this case, the court finds that that what matters here is the party's knowledge of another party's understanding of the language in question is a big deal, and that means that the court is probably going to rule against the party that did have that knowledge, right? The idea that an ambiguous contract is to interpret for the party that did not draft is a policy generally designed for protecting the unknowing parties, and it's generally not going to be applied in an interpretation sense unless they had similar bargaining power and the drafted terms are fairly normal, right? If you're drafting really weird contract language, they're probably going to interpret against you if you're the drafter, because if you're making it more difficult to interpret, that's on you, not on the person you are contracting with. So we've all heard the whole, interpret against the drafter, or however you want to word it. There's about a million different ways that you can word that concept, and it is not absolute. It's generally just when there's a big degree and difference of bargaining power, usually for adhesion contracts, but it just depends. All right. That's Joyner v. Adams.